Hello and welcome to Scottish Football Daily, and in the video today I have done my absolute best to scour all the corners of Scottish football to try and find in the rumours and news that we've got going on around the place today as preparations for the World Cup become really the key focus of everything. We're starting to see and feel some of those transfer rumours and movement maybe kind of slow down a little bit. Or are we, as some other of the rumours are kind of picking up in tandem? So, bit of an interesting point in the window we're at because the transfer window isn't officially open for a further week, but we're seeing a whole host of business being concluded. At any point in the video today, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We just smashed through 1,000 subscribers after our first week. Thanks very much to everyone that's found the content and got involved in it. The comment section has been on fire. Thanks very much to everyone that's getting involved down there. Of course, as always, let me know thoughts and feelings and everything we're discussing, as well as how you expect maybe the rest of the week to unfold. Is this the quiet before the storm, before everything goes absolutely helter-skelter? But yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. And we'll start with the biggest piece of news that we have for Scottish Football Daily. Now, this was actually confirmed by Falkirk themselves. They're back in the market again, but I quite like the press release that I've got here from the Brentford Round Table on Ethan Laidlaw's departure, heading off to Falkirk. Now, this is a transfer that, again, isn't really on my radar, what's happening in the Brentford B team or in Premier League 2 or anything like that. But the 21-year-old leaves Brentford after 3 seasons in West London, having joined the club from Hibs in 2023. His move to Falkirk is a chance to step up properly to senior football after being in the B team. And where was it here? Laidlaw finished the season as one of the most productive players in Neil McFarlane's group, which is the B team bosses. How I'm reading that. The forward recorded 15 goals and 10 assists, form that also saw him named Brentford B's Players Player of the Season. So well liked in the changing room, well liked in and around the building. Final season, Players Player of the Year, very good kind of way to leave Brentford, take the step up to senior men's professional football. And that's the sort of thing I guess we kind of hope to see from any of that young talent that does leave Scotland early. If they're quite clearly not going to break into a first team situation, maybe take some of that development, some of that progression that they've had, training and developing and being in these elite youth circles to then maybe come back up the road and actually develop in Scotland and financially, if they're ever to go on and maybe be sold for mega money, benefit a club in Scotland in kind. And when we add Laidlaw into the picture here, he adds another bit of firepower into this Falkirk team that we've looked at a few times already in the short time that we've been on the channel. But for me, for how good a talent this guy looks, I think you've got to be thinking straight away that John McGlynn is thinking about 2 up top here, or this is a ready-made replacement for the inevitable departure of Barney Stewart, who is one of the most hotly linked players within the division to leave the division with a lot of clubs in the Championship in England and elsewhere. This might be a buy your replacement ahead of time type situation, which would be very shrewd business by Falkirk, and on top of the other business we've spoke about that they've done already. Again, really compounding in those successive promotions, finishing top 6, and then really going about their business like they mean business in the summer window. And I feel like I'm saying that quite a bit. The big rumour mill thing that's kind of kicked off, though, today is a break-in exclusive from Lyle Thomas regarding Arne Engels and the Premier League interest that surrounds him. The last video we had on the channel, we basically spoke about a parallel situation we used amongst some of the kind of the big European clubs in the smaller European countries, as it were. Whereas this is like direct Premier League interest in the same sort of price category and really in the same sort of situation as what we're chatting about with Chermity, where if the rumours and the reports are believed and some sort of bidding war opens up for any of these players, a Scottish transfer record is on the cards for everyone. Matt O'Reilly went to Brighton, I think, for 27 million. And Celtic, I think, by all accounts, expect to receive at least a club record fee from selling Arne Engels, and maybe even, depending on some of the rumours that are going around, Benjamin Negren as well. Maybe World Cup dependent is maybe how you want to read that one. But he's not going to the World Cup, Arne Engels. He didn't actually make it there. So he's got all the time in the world to negotiate with teams and get a deal done. And I wouldn't be surprised if this happens quite quickly, because Celtic notoriously operate a one-in, one-out policy. They've had a few outgoings so far, and Amura confirmed to leave, as is Lewis Palma and Stephen Welsh. And allowing Engels to go quite quickly, I could even see that just the way Celtic are so tight-fisted at times. Engels, whatever that transfer fee is, plus the other ones I just mentioned there, being the war chest for whoever the would-be next manager would be. I could see Celtic maybe moving this one on quite quickly and could develop quite fast, especially if Sky Sports are starting to report it. Although they're the news and they definitely have sources and the no access and stuff like that, they're not always at the cutting edge of agent developments and transfer developments. They are kind of just like the news. They're not like some of these agents and some of these other journalists that I try and follow across the continent and across European and world football. One of my favourites is Rudy Giletti, and he broke the news, and I thought this was amazing rumour mill action that we got today, that Dundee United are amongst a few clubs that are have submitted a proposal for Bence Babos. The Scottish side has identified the Hungary under-21 international as an attacking target, while other European clubs remain in the mix with concrete offers already on the table. This is not a name that was on my radar, but I had a lot of fun looking into this guy, and I really hope Dundee United sign him. When you look at his transfer mark, you'll see he is a forward, clearly, can play left wing, right wing, with the preference on the right wing. He's right-footed, but can play in attacking midfield as well. He's played this season at Dios Giore, is my attempt at saying it, but he is currently on loan from Videoton, who are actually the division below. And this player looks the part from his season this year. He's got 6 goals, he's got an assist, he's 22, he's getting some youth international credentials, and he's on loan a division higher than. And the team didn't do great. They actually finished second bottom. They're getting relegated. So there's not really any sort of silver lining to him domestically. He's very much in the open market. And for a player of this age with a good kind of youth background to get into a youth team and whatever, he's still young, he's always going to be an attractive prospect for any team across Europe. But see, when I looked at his statistics, now we're going to do a little bit of this as a live reaction on the video, right? But this is Bence Babos as a winger versus other wingers in the Hungarian division. He is first for goal conversion percentage, the amount of shots on target that lead to goals. He is top. His goals for a winger, 6. He was in the 89th percentile of goal scoring wingers in the division, despite being at the second bottom team. On top of that, look at this. Duels won. He's in the 77th percentile in terms of where he ranks overall. Marry that up with successful dribbles being at 69 and progressive carries being at 69. What this tells you is this guy goes by people and he's got an eye for goal. 2 deadly ingredients for any winger in the modern game. And there's some other stuff here that's quite okay, XG and dribble success and whatever. But when you scroll down and you look at a lot of the attacking elements of this guy's game, goal touches per 100, the possession won to lost ratio, he's second for wingers in his division. And the duels won, all this stuff looks really good. And for a winger, very young, and a little bit of the volume, it being it's such a low-ranked team, kind of helps emphasize a guy that might have some talent and ability like this. This is the sort of base ingredients that Ange used to play with at Celtic when we signed O and Yang. Both of them were at teams like this situation. They were towards the bottom end of the table, but they were 2 players that showed up in this kind of similar vein, where despite the team being crap and whatever, they actually had a lot of good going about them. And this guy really profiles super well. Now, the part of this I'm going to do live with you, right, is we're going to change 2 things. We're going to change it to people of the same age as him, right? So 22 and under. And then we're going to change it to by the world. And I just want to see where he is. I've not done this before now. And you know what? The goals and the goal conversions stand up. His XG actually jumps up a level. So this is across all leagues. It's covered on Data MB Pro, which covers a lot of leagues in world football, as you can see with the Hungarian info we've got here. His dual success ranks very highly for wingers of his age group, as well as the dribbles and the carries. Like when we say, it clearly looks like a winger that goes by people, an attacker that goes by people, certainly anyway. And still ranks really highly in all these different statistics. Progressive passes, especially when it's possession adjusted, is a very good underlying statistic for, like, Dundee United aren't going to dominate the ball, but they should be in a better situation in the second bottom team in Hungary for how much possession they'll have. So that's an interesting detail. Pass completion, dribbles into the final third, all this kind of stuff is really nice looking. And overall, like, the Dundee United team could use a bit of guile. It could use a little attacking now. A lot of these guys look pretty handy and can do their thing. We spoke about them in previous content, but it's a bit of a workman team. That's what we've got so far. It's very, very Jim Goodwin is how it feels. And whatever, take that for however you want, I suppose. And positives and negatives and all the rest of it. But I think for all teams, and this is something we spoke about with 1 or 2 of the other clubs we've featured so far this season, particularly I think I'm casting my mind back to Falkirk with some of the, Kilmarnock with some of the talent they were signing, maybe a bit more goal threat in the third. But with Dundee United, how they presented last year, how solid they could be at times, the main thing for them is a bit of that X factor, someone that can take a man out of the game and someone that can be like the talisman to lead the way. If they were to sign him, or if they are in the mix to sign him, this feels like a guy that, again, there's no reported fee associated with this, but I think you could imagine this being a very successful transfer for Dundee United, who have a good track record of producing young players in my lifetime, Scottish players predominantly, although it's not came terribly recently. And doesn't that just set us up for an absolutely beautiful segue? Because maybe the most interesting piece of news that happened in and around Scottish football today was that Saint-Étienne have appointed Ian Cathro as head coach. Ian Cathro, a lot of you will know, ex-Hearts manager, former head of youth development at Dundee United when he was like in his 20s. Gets a lot of credit. I think he gets all the credit for the Stuart Armstrong, Ryan Gauld, that whole generation of Dundee United. I did my B license about 10 years ago at this point, and Cathro was a guest speaker. So he spoke for like an hour and a half or something on one of the days of the thing. It was on, like, you're there for 9 days doing training and stuff. It was a lot of fun. It was great times. And at that point, he was assistant manager to Nuno, who you'll probably know from Premier League and all the rest of it. And they were at Rio Ave. They'd just taken Rio Ave to the cup final and narrowly lost out, I think, on penalties to Benfica. Maybe it was a semi-final, but I'm sure it was a final. So I'm sure they qualified for Europe. And like after he was here for the B license thing, it was like a week or two later, Nuno was announced as Valencia manager, and he was his assistant. And it's like quite a story. Anyway, I've always liked to follow Ian Cathro. I think he's an interesting coach, and from listening to him in person and seeing what he's about, the guy loves the word. Maybe not now, people change, don't they? But he loved the word circulation. It was like the main thing that he spoke about. I'll never forget it. But a really switched on guy, goes and speaks languages, learns languages, adapts the game. His number one advice was leave Scotland, which I thought was pretty on the money. SFA didn't seem too chuffed with that at the time, but the truth hurts sometimes, I guess, in terms of coaches getting a chance and be able to develop. So Saint-Étienne, historically one of the biggest teams in France, until recently, I think, were the record title holders in France. So if he gets them back on their feet, they're in Ligue 2 right now. I don't think they got promoted, which is why they're looking for a new manager. So this could be a really good kind of positive story for Scottish football, having a manager kind of venturing into the continent, maybe getting a sleeping giant back on its feet to some extent, perhaps. So I think we wish him all the best and luck. And we had another tiny little bit of news, which when I seen it, gave me little B license flashbacks. And it's Paul Gallagher. Now, I'm not sure if Paul Gallagher was, I think he was on my B license, but it might have been another thing I was at. But anyway, I think I've met him or I've seen him anyway. And he's been announced at SPFL newcomers St Johnstone to be their head of goalkeeping. So congratulations, Paul. And St Johnstone, we've not actually covered yet on the channel. I think they've had this kind of shedding of players like a lot of teams do when they get promoted. And I'm sure there's going to be a little flood of announcements of new players coming in. And I'll be looking forward to seeing how their team kind of formulates and gets put together. But this is the length and breadth of everything that's basically happened. There's maybe been another rumor or two here or there, but for the most part, I tried to keep the video as relevant and as interesting as I possibly could for us, how little is going on today. Thanks a lot if you tuned into this one on screen, and now some other ones that I've made already that YouTube thinks you might enjoy in case you've not caught them already. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay out of trouble. I'll catch you on the next one.